A 17-year-old high school student just did the unthinkable. In Oslo, he crossed the finish line a mere 100th of a second ahead of the reigning Olympic champion. As he lunged toward the line, he was convinced he had come up short. Seconds later, the scoreboard revealed the truth: he had won. Even more incredible, the Olympic champion had already warned the world about him before the race. His comments sounded casual at the time, but looking back, they were a prediction, a warning. The rest of the 800-meter world simply didn't realize it yet. But this victory wasn't the beginning of Cooper Lutkenhouse' story. It was only the latest chapter in a journey that has been building for years. To understand how a teenager could defeat the best runners on Earth, you have to go back to Justin, Texas, a quiet town outside Dallas where greatness wasn't expected to emerge. Cooper grew up in a highly competitive household alongside two older brothers who never made life easy for him. Every game became a battle. Every challenge became a test. His father, George Lutkenhouse, competed in college athletics and eventually became the athletics director for the local school district. His mother, Tricia, serves as the principal of Northwest High School, the very school Cooper attends. Competition, discipline, and high expectations were part of daily life. One story perfectly captures who Cooper was from an early age. During a church basketball season, his mother placed him on a team filled with older boys, including one of his brothers. Most parents would have protected the younger child. Instead, she threw him directly into the challenge. Cooper not only survived, he thrived. Sometimes he even outperformed players years older than him. That mindset would become the foundation of everything that followed. When Cooper entered middle school, he participated in multiple sports, including wrestling. He studied football obsessively and approached every activity with the same goal: win. Running was simply another competition to conquer. As an 8th grader, he stunned observers by running 1:53 and 1:54 in the 800 meters, times many adult runners spend years chasing. He captured titles at the Brooks PR Invitational and Nike Outdoor Nationals, quietly building a reputation as one of the most talented young athletes in America. Still, skepticism remained. The track world has seen countless youth stars dominate junior competition only to struggle against elite professionals. Success at the high school level does not guarantee success on the global stage. The gap between local championships and Diamond League races is enormous. Yet Cooper kept winning. As a freshman, he claimed the Texas Class 5A state title. The following year, he moved up and captured the Class 6A championship. Race after race, season after season, he remained unbeaten. The problem was that none of those victories answered the biggest question. Could he compete against Olympians? That answer began to emerge under the guidance of coach Chris Capo. While still attending high school classes, Cooper started training with professional ambitions. One element became central to his development: his devastating finishing kick. For years, Capo reinforced a simple instinct: when 200 meters remained, it was time to attack. Session after session, workout after workout, that move became automatic. Then came August 2025. At the U.S. Outdoor Championships in Eugene, Oregon, 16-year-old Cooper Lutkenhouse lined up against Olympic finalists, world-class veterans, and established professionals. With 200 meters left, he sat buried in 7th place. Most runners would have accepted defeat. Cooper did the opposite. His trademark kick exploded to life. In one astonishing final stretch, he surged from 7th to 2nd, blasting through the field and stopping the clock at 1:42:27. The performance shattered the U18 world record by more than a full second and stunned everyone inside Hayward Field. He defeated athletes with Olympic medals, world championship experience, and years of elite racing behind them. The athletics community couldn't believe what it had witnessed. Observers called it one of the most remarkable performances ever produced by a high school athlete. Suddenly, Cooper wasn't just a promising prospect, he was a legitimate threat to the world's best runners. At only 16 years old, he became the youngest American ever to qualify for the World Athletics Championships. But the next chapter would prove that talent alone isn't enough. Tokyo 2025 presented a completely different challenge. While most teenagers were worrying about school assignments, Cooper was preparing to compete against the greatest middle-distance runners on the planet. He arrived carrying homework in his bag and enormous expectations on his shoulders. The World Championships introduced him to a level of racing unlike anything he had experienced before. The competition was tactical. The racing was physical. Every position had to be earned. And for the first time in his young career, Cooper would discover just how difficult it is to succeed on the biggest stage in track and field. The world's best 800-meter runners know every trick in the book. They know how to trap dangerous kickers, control race positioning, and use years of experience to shut down young talent before it becomes a threat. That lesson hit Cooper Lutkenhouse hard at the 2025 World Championships in Tokyo. Despite his incredible rise, the 16-year-old couldn't advance. The veterans boxed him in, controlled the race, and exposed the difference between dominating high school competition and surviving on the biggest stage in the sport. For the first time, raw talent wasn't enough. His devastating finishing kick wasn't enough. The speed that had carried him through Texas wasn't enough. He returned home without a medal but with something far more valuable: experience. The question now was simple. Could a teenager who had spent most of his life winning learn more from defeat than he ever learned from victory? Think about it for a moment. If you were 16 years old, would you choose a normal school year with friends, parties, and memories, or would you leave it all behind for a chance to race at the World Championships? Cooper never hesitated. He chose the track every single time. Fast forward to March 2026. While most teenagers were enjoying spring break, sleeping late, gaming, or heading to the beach, Cooper Lutkenhouse was thousands of miles away in Torun, Poland, preparing to race the fastest men on Earth at the World Indoor Championships. What happened next rewrote history. Lutkenhouse stormed to victory in 1:44:24, becoming the youngest individual world champion ever crowned in track and field history. Not the youngest American. Not the youngest 800-meter champion. The youngest world champion across the entire sport. A 17-year-old from a small Texas town had just accomplished something nobody before him had ever done. And he wasn't finished. Just days later, he made his Diamond League debut in Stockholm. Most athletes spend years trying to win a Diamond League race. Lutkenhouse won immediately. His 1:42:70 performance made him the youngest winner in Diamond League history, breaking a record that had survived for over a decade and a half. Then came the ultimate challenge. Emmanuel Wanyani. To understand what happened next, you need to understand who Wanyani is. At only 21 years old, the Kenyan superstar had already conquered the sport. Olympic champion, world champion, the undisputed king of the 800 meters. Unlike many athletes, Wanyani didn't underestimate the teenager. In fact, before the race, he publicly acknowledged him. Cooper is strong, he's the future of this event. Those words carried weight. Because when the reigning champion calls someone the future, it isn't hype. It's respect. And sometimes respect can be a warning. June 2026. The legendary Bislett Stadium in Oslo. One of the most famous tracks in athletics history. The race unfolded exactly as expected. Wanyani took control early, setting the pace and forcing everyone to react. Lutkenhouse stayed patient. Waiting. Watching. Saving everything for the moment that had defined his career. 200 meters remaining. The switch flipped. Lutkenhouse surged to the front and opened daylight between himself and the field. But champions don't surrender. Wanyani launched his counterattack. Step by step, meter by meter, he closed the gap. The crowd rose to its feet. The finish line approached. Neither athlete blinked. Neither athlete backed down. They crashed across the line almost simultaneously. Lutkenhouse dove desperately for every possible fraction of a second. As he hit the track, he believed he had lost. Then the results appeared. 1:42:08. 1:42:09. 1/100th of a second. The smallest measurable winning margin in elite athletics. The 17-year-old had done it. He had defeated the Olympic champion. The world champion. The best 800-meter runner on the planet. By the width of a fingernail. Think about everything that had happened in less than a year. World indoor champion. Youngest Diamond League winner ever. Undefeated as a professional. World-leading time. Third fastest American 800-meter runner in history. And he's still worrying about school dances. After Oslo, reporters expected him to talk about records, championships, or Olympic dreams. Instead, Cooper talked about homecoming. He talked about prom. His mother had told him he needed to make plans. Then he delivered a quote that should make every middle-distance runner nervous. When asked what he believed was possible for his future, he answered honestly, "I don't know what's possible. Not arrogance. Not confidence. Just honesty." Because at 17 years old, he still hasn't discovered where his limits are. And that's what makes him dangerous. The world record stands at 1:40:91, set by the legendary David Rudisha during the unforgettable London Olympics in 2012. For 14 years, that mark has looked untouchable. Generation after generation has chased it. Nobody has reached it. Meanwhile, Cooper Lutkenhouse is already running 1:42:08 as a teenager. Now imagine where he might be at 19. Los Angeles 2028. Home Olympics. Packed stadium. Millions watching around the world. An American teenager stepping onto the biggest stage in sports. Will Cooper Lutkenhouse win Olympic gold? Will he break David Rudisha's legendary world record? Will he become the greatest 800-meter runner the sport has ever seen?